Hey there, I'm Kevin Downey, and I run an agency called Kevin M. Downey, where we help B2B companies with their sales and marketing efforts. You can visit our website at kevinmdowney.com. Okay, today's topic's a really quick one. Why you need email now for your B2B lead generation efforts, your business development, right? Whether you have sales reps, account executives, account managers, you got a BDR, SDR team, why do you need email? And how should you set it up, right? And I get into detail in a lot of other videos on the nitty-gritty of email setup, but why do you need email now? The reality is that it has gotten so difficult to prospect through the traditional methods without email, right? So manualized outreach by phone or boots on the ground, while still can be effective, and I like boots on the ground better if I had to choose between the two, it still becomes so difficult. It was getting much harder pre-COVID, the last 10 years before COVID. So you go 15 years back and we're talking 2010-ish range. It started to get really difficult to do, manual outreach because companies were going into phone trees and no receptionists, and even some new companies weren't even getting phone numbers. And it just became so difficult to get prospects on the phone. You started to see more executives not working at that business location. They're in a different city, they're remote. All of that started. And so we were feeling the pain, and we got into email before COVID. But then COVID hit, it just blew everybody up, right? Because nobody could really get any prospects on the phone at that point. It is still very, very difficult. So email provides you with the medium of communication that almost everyone in business uses, right? So almost every business professional that you're going to need to reach in B2B business development has an email address at their company. The other thing about emails, it's fully legal, right? We certainly hear about companies, especially targeting small business owners, not getting email to work effectively enough the way they have it set up. So they're actually reverting to texting via mobile phones, which is illegal, right? You can't do that. But email is fully legal, right, in the United States. So it is the one medium of communication that's not just legal if you do it right, but you can, everybody has an email address, and you can do almost any volume you want. Right, when we set up clients on an email marketing system, our base configuration can send 6,000 a day, and certainly if you go on a different type of campaign management system, use a dedicated SMTP email server, and depending on how you set things up, you can set the volume almost unlimited, right? So at the end of the day, email is the medium of communication. It is the way that you want to drive inbound leads, whether you have sales reps, you have account executive, account managers, you have a BDR, SDR team you're trying to drive leads to and get them on a call. Email is the way to go about it because it's so hard to get a hold of prospects these days. But it is getting harder, right? So it is important that you stay on top of the technology. And when companies come to us with some email experience, which most have at this point, they have been running email through their CRM. They're doing it through their primary domain, which you should never do. I talk about this in a couple of videos, but they're doing it through their primary domain. They're doing their sales reps' main email addresses, and they're sending 50 to 150 a day from a single email address. The reality is that kind of setup is not going to drive enough leads, right? Like that might help. It's a nice add-on, but that's only going to drive a lead a week, 2 leads a week, something like that, right? You got to have more volume than that. So you have to set up your email going through an email API or an SMTP email server so you can send any volume you want in reality, right? And that is how you want to set up email to drive your team inbound leads, and it's why it's so important to do it now. And the reality is you've got to stay on top of the technology of email because it is getting harder, right? Google has certainly made it very clear they want to make it more difficult to send emails, right? And for cold email outreach, right? You're getting the vibe that they're not a fan of it. So they're going to make it more and more difficult, right? So you've got to stay on top of things. When we set clients up, we do so with a very complete setup, multi-domain structure so that we can send through a healthy domain at any given time. They're all dedicated domains for cold outreach and cold emailing and that kind of setup, right? So you want to look at that kind of configuration, which again, I've got a couple of videos on that if you want to dig into those, okay? So hopefully that helps you. If you have any questions, you want some help, reach out to us, kevinmdowney.com. Really appreciate your being here. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks.